from Russia. I'm talking energy, of course. Justin Dargin is Senior Energy and Geopolitical Expert at the University of Oxford. Justin, it's lovely to speak to you. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Let's talk about the economic impacts of what has been announced overnight for the US and the UK. What does it mean for their economies, for starters, this ban on Russian energy?
Okay, well, absolutely, this is going to have a tremendous impact on the average consumer. Although what we can say right now is that there hasn't been any structural impacts yet in terms of Russian oil and natural gas, which is entering into the market. Although what we can see is that moving forward, it is basically unavoidable to try to mitigate any type of significant price increase that the average consumer in the U.S., UK, or indeed anywhere in the world is going to face. So I would say, unfortunately, as optimistic as I would want to be, the average consumer is looking at an additional thousands of dollars, we would say, on top of, in terms of incorporating additional fuel costs and what have you.
But it's not just what you put in your car, is it? It's also what businesses pay for everything, the import costs into nearly everything.
Oh, absolutely. Well, in terms of products which are manufactured from oil or natural gas, it's about over 6,000. Over 6,000 products are made from that. So that's on one hand. And then also on the other hand, as you rightly indicated, you have transportation costs, and then the basic impact of the increase in oil price and natural gas price is going to ripple throughout the entire macroeconomy. And this is on top of the fact that we are already facing significant inflationary pressure at the moment. So we're looking at a very unprecedented event, I would say, in terms of global economic health. And just as the world was, how can I say, rebounding from the global pandemic. So,
what does it mean for, and let's look at a couple of different sectors. Air travel is one. We've got jet oil at a 15-year high. What does that mean for aviation recovery?
Well, as we know, aviation took a very hard hit during COVID, and it was just recently getting back on its feet as the lockdowns began to ease and so on. Although we can say undeniably that air traffic is going to decline moving forward, and just for the simple reason that many consumers are going to feel pinched in terms of other aspects of their budget. So we're definitely not going to see many people taking trips, on top of the fact that there's a fair amount of geopolitical tension at the moment.
Europe's slower in following this. Europe imports the lion's share of energy from Russia. I'm excluding Asia from that, but if we look at the US, UK and Europe, the three areas that have been discussing these bans. However, this stuff is priced globally. So what does it mean for Europe?
Well, Europe, of course, as you stated, it depends quite heavily on Russian oil and natural gas. So about a quarter of Europe's oil imports are from Russia. So what we're looking at is that as Europe begins to start to phase down its natural gas imports and potentially oil imports in the future, there is no way we can say in the short term that Europe would be able to try to soften the blow that this is going to have for its economies. Now, if we look at the longer term picture, though, this is a boon for decarbonization efforts, we could say, because Europe is going to be investing significant amounts of money into decarbonization efforts. So we're going to see renewable energy projects are going to start increasing quite significantly, and then also we're going to see energy efficiency policies as well that are going to benefit from this as well. But in the short term, just to be absolutely frank, there is not too much that can be done, and there are many other suppliers that would be able to step up to the plate. Frankly, only the UAE and Saudi Arabia would be able to increase oil production on short notice to about 2.5 million barrels per day. But that leaves about 5 million barrels per day, 4.5 to 5 million barrels per day that would have to be accounted for.
Yeah, a couple of things there. Let's look at how self-sufficient the US is and how quickly things could be ramped up. I mean, you've got the majority of Russian high-sulfur fuel oil going to the US Gulf Coast. Texas, can it replace that? I mean, presumably, refining margins are going to go through the roof.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, the U.S. Imports nearly, of its imports, about 3% coming from Russia if you look at crude. But overall, that percentage rises to about 8% if you include all of the oil products together. I mean, so the U.S. is not, by any stretch of imagination, extremely dependent on Russian energy exports, not to the same degree that Europe is. So, I mean, the U.S. will more or less be fine. There will be some refiners, though, that will struggle to find something that could replace Russian oil, which is termed as Urals crude. But otherwise, the U.S. would be mostly fine if we just look at the structural import of Russian oil.
What about the Russian reminders that it could effectively turn off the taps to Europe? What effect would that have on prices, gas prices?
Oh, well, we can say that, again, we're in unprecedented territory. I could honestly say that prices could go anywhere. So as we noticed with the announcement today of the U.S. ban on Russian oil and natural gas, prices shot up quite significantly. Although at the same time, this has not properly factored in the myriad of risks that can develop from this ongoing situation. For instance, the Russian government mentioned that prices could potentially rise to about $300, $300 per barrel. It may not actually rise that high, but again, I do want to stress that we're in unprecedented territory and anything can happen. But on the other hand, actually, if there is some kind of accord and let's say tensions cool down, then we can say that there would be some slightly return to normalcy, we could say, but things would have to cool down, I would say, quite rapidly for that to happen.
Justin Dargin is a senior energy and geopolitical expert from the University of Oxford.